Good morning, friends. Mark Holmes here, and as always, I want to thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Blue Sports Report. Without you guys, as well as you ladies, you know it's not working. On the road again. I just can't wait to get on the road again. Yeah, actually, I could wait. I could actually be okay with being at home, but you got to do what you got to do. So this morning, I'm listening to, of course, First Things First. The Dallas Cowboys are 5-1, and their premise is Mike McCarthy is the worst coach in the world, and that they should fire him now during the bye week. I won't dispute that I have some questions about Mike McCarthy. I think they get a little too overzealous and too trusting the offense. That first drive where we've got fourth down on our 35-yard line and we're going for it to begin the game, I'm sorry. Sometimes I think they go for it a little too much for my taste. And, you know, it's funny because I was talking with DMV before the game, and I was saying, you know, sometimes they risk the biscuit a little bit too much. I don't know if they just have a risk aversion to punts or whatever, but, you know, I think back to last year where we fake punted on our 21-yard line against the Washington football team, and it's kind of like, dude, what are you doing? If you don't make it, you are literally setting up the other team. So I want you to listen to their conversation and their rationale. Mike McCarthy's not getting fired this week. He's not getting fired this week. But, of course, the talking heads want to have something to talk about. If you talk about people needing to be fired, you may want to look and say, I don't know, Joe Judge with the New York Stinking Giants, okay? That team has been awful. They're horrible. I actually feel bad for poor Rashid having to go through and literally die every week watching that team. They have literally done absolutely nothing right with Dave Gettleman in drafting quarterbacks, running backs. It's just like the whole thing stinks from the head down. But it's funny. They're not talking about firing that guy. They're talking about firing, of course, Mike McCarthy, who's 5-1. Let's go to the tape.
CeeDee Lamb, that is your game winner for the Patriots. They dropped to 0-4 at home for the first time in the Belichick era. Dallas improves to 5-1 with their fifth straight win. But not all good news for the Cowboys after the game. Quarterback Dak Prescott, you see it there, walking to and from the podium in a protective boot on his right foot. What if he just walked to with the boot, then took it off and walked away without the boot? That would be weird. He suffered a calf strain on that last play. He'll undergo an MRI today. He did downplay it after the game, saying, quote, "It's fine, I'm fine." Nick, you're starting to believe, though, that the 5-1 Dallas Cowboys can win the Super Bowl?
Well, this is an odd place to be because typically going to overtime, needing to go to overtime to win in New England, a place literally every team that has played there has won this year, except for the team that lives there, the Patriots. I mean, everybody wins in New England. Patriots are only 4 there. You'd be like, okay, that's not a sign of a great team. But when you see Trayvon Diggs have another game-changing play, and you see CeeDee Lamb just run all over the defense, well, receive all over the defense, and you know they have Zeke and Pollard, and you know Dak is playing at a level where he's a very legitimate top 4 MVP candidate, along with Kyler, Tom Brady, and Lamar, and they're 5-1 winners of 5 straight. It's hard to say they're not only can they win the Super Bowl, are they the favorites, the co-favorites to win the Super Bowl? But, Broussard, the reason I can't say any of that right now, even though they're atop the tiers, is because every single week their coach botches something that should not be botchable. Week 1, kicks a 60-yard field goal, 60 yards. The end of the first half, gives Tom Brady a short field and opportunity to add points. Week 2, settles for a 56-yard field goal at the end of the game instead of running a play or calling timeout with 30 seconds left. Week 3, butchers the end of the first half so badly, the referee, remember, went over to Mike Mike, I'm here because you're supposed to be calling timeout. And he's deer in the headlights. Week 2, he was like, I couldn't see the clock. Week 3, didn't have an explanation. And then last night, again, he called timeout for the Patriots, kicked a field goal on 4th and 1, 51-yarder instead of going for it. It's terrible. So I say that and say this. We've seen this happen before, where a team has a good record, but they know the coach isn't the right guy. And they know the right guys that are on the staff, and you're going to lose them if you don't elevate them. Jerry Jones should take the bold move of saying, you know what? We are better off without Mike McCarthy as long as we keep Kellen Moore. Kellen Moore, you can be the head coach. Little Sean McVay situation where the young, unproven head coach has an old defensive coordinator who's been a head coach. Remember, Sean McVay and Wade Phillips. He has Kellen Moore can have Dan Quinn there to help him with the mechanics of being a head coach. You make sure Kellen Moore doesn't leave the building. You fix your clock management issues, and then you become the actual favorites. I don't know if Jerry will do it. He's the only owner who I think would even consider doing it, because he knows, and you know, and we all know deep down in our core, one of these game management issues is going to bite them and cost them their season. It happens every single close game the Cowboys are in.
Nick, I couldn't disagree more. I mean, and I'll answer your question for you. You don't know if Jerry's going to do it, as in fire Mike McCarthy. I'll guarantee that Jerry Jones is not going to do it. This isn't one of those wild guarantees where it doesn't come to pass. I guarantee Mike McCarthy will be the coach of the Dallas Cowboys next week. All right? He's not getting fired, Nick, nor should he. Nick, come on. I'm not the biggest Mike McCarthy. Do you think it'd be good for them? I thought it was a strange.
But do you think it'd be good for them? Forget if it's going to happen. Do you think it would be good for them?
No. They're 5-1. All right? Look, it would be so Cowboys-like to fire Mike McCarthy. Because we know, Nick, over the past decade, it has been one thing after another with the Cowboys. Every week, there's some type of drama. It's Jerry Jones saying something on the radio, or it's somebody getting injured, or it's Ezekiel Elliott with his issues off the field. It's always something. And now, we finally are in peace. This top 2 in the league. The defense is much improved. The wide receivers aren't competing against each other. There's no jealousy. There's no ego. They're pulling for each other. You got 2 very good running backs who, again, no jealousy. They're pulling for each other. This team everything is peaceful. And now you want to go ahead and inject some drama by firing the head coach, who, as I said, has a 5-1 record. How can you say, Nick, that they can't win the Super Bowl with him when he's won the Super Bowl? And I get it was a while ago, but he's proven that the game has not passed it by because he's still winning. He's winning. And furthermore, where's the proof that Kellen Moore is going to be this great head coach? I'm with you. He'll probably get hired next year, but we don't know that he'll be great. We thought Matt Nagy would be great as a head coach. We thought Adam Gase would be great as a head coach. We thought Josh McDaniels would be great as a head coach. Why in the world, when I have a sure thing working fine, would I inject a giant question mark, Wiles, into the program by firing the coach and then giving it to an inexperienced guy like Kellen Moore?
Yeah, I'm not even sure Josh McDaniels is a good offensive coordinator, or never mind head coach. So, Nick, I'm going to try to meet you in the middle here. Do you think you could hire someone to get in McCarthy's ear? And I'll give you 2 options. One, it's someone who just specializes in clock management, down and distance type person. It's like, or you can like follow that Twitter robot that's always like, you should go or you should not go. Or 2, it's a fan of the opposing team. Because when I was watching this, like, oh, you're going for it in your own territory in the first quarter? Yeah, do that. Oh, you're kicking a 51-yard field goal instead of giving it to Dak? Yeah, do that. So you just have a fan whispering, like, yeah, you should do that, and then do the opposite. But seriously, do you think that they could just hire someone else to be like, yeah, you're not good at this. This is eventually going to bite us. Now listen to this person. We're going to lean into analytics. You make it a big thing. Yeah, and you wouldn't have to hire some specialist. You could hire someone who just stumbled out of Club Shay Shay with some edibles in their hand. As long as they play Madden for 10 hours in their life, they'll be better at this stuff than Mike McCarthy is. Like, it is egregious every single week. But at this point, Wilds, Okay, so Dan Quinn's in charge of the defense. Kellen Moore's in charge of the offense. Jerry Jones and his son are in charge of the personnel. Mike McCarthy's in charge of what? Well, you want to make sure the team's well coached, which means we're tight on penalties. Is that the Cowboys? Or are they penalized all the time and yesterday no different? Okay, well, he's got to be the one to make the big decisions. Well, now you're taking that off his plate as well. All of a sudden, there's nothing left on the man's plate. Mike McCarthy didn't want there to be nothing on his plate. It'd be good for him. And you're right, Broussard. I don't know that Kellen Moore would be a good head coach. I do know that if I ask Kellen Moore what time it is, he doesn't say Christmas is December 25th. He can do the job that needs to be done. I understand. I don't doubt that. And Dan Quinn's on the staff. He coached in a Super Bowl. So I understand it's a bold thing. But everyone thought when the Cavs said David Black, go away, Ty Lue, no experience, come be the head coach. It was crazy. They were 30-11, the best record in the East. They ended up winning the title. And I know LeBron James didn't walk through that door, Jenny.
Okay, so that whole thing was just crazy. Although, I will say that at the end of this year, I may say that this is Super Bowl or bust for Mike McCarthy. I think after the 10 years of Jason Garrett being there and not getting close to being at a Super Bowl, I think that the Cowboys have less patience. I do believe that they do believe in Kellen Moore is the coach in waiting, and I can see them jettisoning Mike McCarthy. And when I look back at it, it's not like this doesn't have precedent. When you think about John Fox, who was head coach of the Denver Broncos, who had Peyton Manning, they went to the Super Bowl and literally were destroyed by the Seattle Seahawks in that Super Bowl. They fired him. You know, imagine going to the Super Bowl and then losing your job the next year. Oh, I guess we ended up having a coach win the Super Bowl and get fired the next year, so I guess it wouldn't be that crazy. But they ended up firing him, and eventually 2 years later, they go back to the Super Bowl and win it. So it is something that you would visit at the end of the season. I would dare say that, you know, the Cowboys have had conversations about Kellen Moore and things like that. But there's no way in the world the Dallas Cowboys would fire Mike McCarthy in the bye week right now on a 5-1 team. It's just not going to happen. But it sounds good, of course, on the radio. And as always, I'm Mark Holmes, and I'll see you later. Peace.